Greetings YouTube and welcome to the Blue Corner. In today's video I'm going to be talking about the April 2014 ban list. It's out and it does a few things, but at the same time doesn't do a whole lot, which has made a couple people upset. They were expecting some more mass burials and such, but sorry, that's not happening. The only thing that's really gotten buried is a degenerate FTK troll deck. That's it. Otherwise, they did what I feel was just enough to keep the top two decks in check while letting some other stuff come up. Basically because, well, we have a booster set coming out in May that is going to change the format dramatically, and why make a ban list that just completely shits on a lot of stuff when they're going to be bringing out a deck and a structure deck that will do largely the same thing? Once artifacts come out and once the Lightsworn structure deck comes out and the new Fusion support comes out, the game is going to shift. So that being said, they just went and made some changes here and there, and yeah, I'm just going to give my thoughts on these while having some games of Yu-Gi-Oh! Defro on in the background. And I'm going to begin with the two banned cards, Morphing Jar and Morphing Jar number 2. I have to give props to Konami on this one. I'm thinking the reason why they went and killed these two cards is not because of Empty Jar, but rather because of Jackpot 7 coming out with the newest booster set. Jackpot 7 ran both of the jars with the attempt of switching them over to your opponent, and then having those things get flipped up by your monster or by them, and then having you deck out to the point where you'll mill your Jackpot 7s, and because it was by their jars, technically speaking, you'll get their effects off and win. Problem with that is, though, that the Jackpot 7 deck that ran Morphing Jar number 2 was inconsistent compared to the other builds with, say, Scapegoat, Mystic Box, Dark Scorpion Burglars. There's just better ways to play Jackpot 7, so while they do hit one of the ways, they didn't hit the better way. If they really want to stop Jackpot 7, they're going to just have to semi-limit it, but I don't know if they're going to be willing to do that. On the other hand, though, it is great to see Empty Jar get the axe, because honestly, fuck that deck. I really hope that someday Final Countdown and Chain Strike will join these two cards on the ban list. I know Countdown is at 1, but it still being around means that there are going to be people who will try and make it work. Let's just get rid of the degenerate non-interactive alternate win decks entirely. But anyway, these are some good hits. I would have liked to have seen Limiter Removal, Honest, and what's the other one? Solemn Warning also be put in the Forbidden section. That would have been nice, but I'll take what I can get. For the limited cards, first up, Coach Soldier Wolfbark. This was a very good hit. While a few people argued that Tenki should have been hit over this, I honestly felt that this was the much more powerful card. He is, after all, a monster that allows you to make an instant rank 4 Exceeds monster, one of which happens to be a rank 4 that gets a copy of a card that is used to search out Wolfbark. In addition, this guy also happens to have, well, basically, no restrictions on what you can make with him, and the rank 4 card pool has become really, really, really good since this guy first came out. Like, when Wolfbark first came out, we didn't have Arknight, we didn't have Exiton, or Kagasuchi even. We just had good stuff like Maestro and Utopia. Well, not Utopia. Utopia's never been good. Okay, he's been okay, but let's be honest, nobody plays Utopia anymore except for Zexal Weapons X. But you get the point, though. The rank 4 card pool has expanded a lot since Wolfbark first came out. And now that we have these really good rank 4s in Exiton and Arc, Wolfbark becomes really, really, really good. And again, he's searchable too. He's searchable through Tinky, which is searchable through Tiger King and Bear and Gorilla. Imagine if Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon was normal summonable with no cost, and he was as searchable as this guy was. Think of how insane that was. Like, they limited Red Med for being what it can do, and yet Wolfbark is basically a better Red Med. That's ultimately what I think about that. Furthermore, just like Red Med, he'll continuously plus while he stays on the board, and if your opponent can't clear Wolfbark, or God help them, the monster that Wolfbark summons, then on the next turn he's just going to bring out another monster, and then they have 2 free monsters they can overlay into a cardinal, shuffle back their Tankies and their monsters, and just keep continuing to plus. Like, yeah, this is the one that really needed to be hit. Tanky, the moment I saw it was going to be in that special edition, I knew it wasn't going to be touched, because that's just how it is. But all in all, good hit. And then Mermail Bisgoon, this hurts. It doesn't completely kill mermails, but it's going to make them much more difficult to pilot. I do not know if playing the rank 4 style is going to be, well, actually, it probably still is the better way of playing the deck, but the fact is the deck is going to have to run some cards that were suboptimal before, like Salvage, another Aqua Spirit, another Abyss Urge, more rank level 7s, more Abyss Squalls, the things that you had to cut from the deck to begin with because they were seen as clunky and unnecessary, pardon me, but now you have to start running these things, and it's just going to make it so that the deck, while still a threat, isn't going to be nearly as powerful as it used to be. Mermails and Fire Fist have definitely been curbed, and once Primal Origins comes out, I think they might just very well fade away. Now, thankfully, Mermails didn't take any additional hits like Teus, Sphere, or Linde, which I honestly thought was going to be what would happen. So, I think they are better off than Fire Fist are. Fire Fist will probably go to 3.5 axis, and that's just pretty much how, like, the format will be basically Bujin, Gear, Mermail, and Fire Kings. I do mention Fire Kings because while they lost 2 Wolfbarks and Rekindlings at 1 on this list as well, that deck is actually better off than people would think. You still have Onslaught, you still have Circle, Garunix, Yaksha. You can actually just tech that deck out now in order to deal with the other ones. You can run Skill Drain, you can run Kukaraya. Honestly, I might actually try and pick Fire Kings back up again. As far as the Rekindling hit itself goes, this thing needed to happen as early as 2010 with Flamvel Cat. Like, a card that is a potential +4 in itself is dumb. Love Alls use it to make instant Quasars. Fire Fists and Fire Kings use it to make Synchros, Xyzs, OTKs. Things that say summon as many monsters as possible just simply should not be a 3. Hysteric Sign, I think, could be joining this at some point. And then our last limit is Infernity Barrier. And let's be honest, who likes playing against Infernity? I know people like to play Infernity, and that's more power to you, but when Infernity goes off and you're against it, and they search out their 3 barriers and they set them down along with breaks, and they end with Levier, Archfiend, Necromancer, and all this shit, how the frick do you get past that without having a God Hand? Or a Maxi to draw into a God Hand? Like, Infernity, when it goes off, is one of the most degenerate things to play against. They just completely lock you out of the game, and it's just no fun. I am glad to see Barrier Gate hit. It is by far the best of the themed Super Trap cards, and unlike things like Royal Tomb of Necro Valley, Barrier is searchable, and its cost is by far the best. You just have to have no hand and a face-up Infernity monster. Whereas Tomb requires you to have a Necro Valley and a Gravekeeper, or Hieratic Seal of Reflection requires you to tribute a Hieratic off, and that's a pretty steep cost in itself. Like, I'm really happy they hit this. They could have also hit things like Archfiend or Necromancer, but they instead just went and hit a really stupid, annoying, unfair card. And you know what? I applaud them for that. As far as the semi-limits go, there's Necroface. Well, I don't like this idea. Then again, that's because Necroface only ever saw play in Trolley decks, but at the same time, Goldsark, Allure, and Burial from Different Dimension are all at 1, so putting it to 2, I guess, isn't entirely a bad idea, but I'm iffy on this one. Hieratic Seal of Convocation, it's a slight slap on the wrist on the deck, to be perfectly honest. Compared to what else could have happened, i.e. a Tomb going to 1, I'm going to take Convocation going to 2 over a Tomb going to 1 any day of the week. Hieratics used to play with 2 Convocation to begin with, so yeah, we're just going back to where we were a year ago. No problem. I do not think Hieratic Rulers, though, are going to be a good deck in this next format. It's okay, but the flaws that the deck had just became really, really apparent as this last format went on, and I just don't know how the deck can actually find a way to cover up those flaws. Pure Hieratics just might be better. And then in limited, we have Magical Stone of Excavation. Now that Empty Jar is gone, there's no reason why this needs to be on the list. I'm hoping that now that Morphing Jar and Jar number 2 are banned, that Book of Moon can go to 2 on the next list. And Primal Seeds also limited, which is just, it's not doing much, but at the same time, you just know you're going to run into that guy on Death Row who makes a deck around this. But otherwise, as a whole, I like this list. I do wish, though, we had gotten Dragon Ravine back. Would have liked to have at least a little bit of a freaking bone thrown at us. But on the other hand, at least the Rulers didn't get banned, Shrine didn't get banned, Red Med didn't get banned. There were some weird ideas about that. Atum didn't get banned. Dragons didn't lose anything, but they didn't get anything either, and that's a bit disappointing. Now, on the other hand, too, Stratos didn't come back, and while I kind of wish that he did, at the same time, the logic behind Stratos coming back for some people was that now that they're getting a structure deck for heroes, they'll unban Stratos to promote it. And at the same time, while I can understand that, I don't think that's a good idea anymore, bringing back shit just to promote stuff. Konami's done it in the past with Sixth Sense, but let's think about it this way. If they were going to do that again this time, instead of unbanning Stratos to promote a structure deck that we're going to be getting in fall, they would more likely put Charge of the Light Brigade to 2 to promote the Lightsworn deck that we're getting in June. And let's be honest, that would be all kinds of disgusting. Do you really want to see a format where Lightsworn would have 2 Charge of the Light Brigade? I don't think so. So, if it means that we do not get 2 Charge of the Light Brigade, then I will accept Stratos being banned for just a bit longer. I'm hoping that the TCG eventually just makes some kind of exclusive card that emulates Stratos and Ravine. Because god damn it, I want to play Dragoonity like the way they used to. But as a whole, I'm fine with this list. What are your thoughts on it? And how are you going to adjust for this format? As it is, I think it's pretty much going to be, I'm going to just keep on doing what I've been doing already. Then once Origins comes out, then shit's just going to hit the frying pan. But at least we get Diamond Core of Quackimaru for Disaster Dragon, and that in itself is actually going to be pretty nice. Till next time, folks.